Hi, welcome to Facebook Live Mindset Matters. I'm Jean Filipiak, Managing Partner with APA Solutions, and one of the participants for our movement and initiative Women Up in Conferences. And I am here with our fellow colleague and neuroscientist, Eric. How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
A little tired.
I think you have some news for us. We're so excited to share to our HR leaders, operations professionals, and hiring managers.
Yeah, my wife and I, we had our first baby this Sunday,
oh
on the 26th. Little Ellery Grace.
That is
Ellery
awesome. So, been dying. Can I see the
picture?
Yes,
you can. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Oh my gosh, she's precious. She really is.
Right? And
oh
so
my
alert.
God. And alert and beautiful.
Although alert at the early hours of the day.
Yeah. So little E now is part of our movement.
She is.
And our
she
initiative for
Women
Up, so we got to start educating her early on.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why, honestly, I'm really happy to really talk about some of this that we've been doing over the last few months, because, you know, now seeing her and just envisioning now how she's going to grow up in this world, learning about those stereotypes, like it, to me, is so intrinsically important now that she knows these things, so that she can be set for the future and hopefully overcome those things
and
too.
Isn't that what Women Up is all about? Where it's giving a voice to individuals to ask questions, to have a platform where we can all be inclusive.
Right.
It's really, started a year ago in the sense that we collaborated with women organizations, and then it all came together to have it under one roof, to have experts handle these real life situations that are coming up in regards to stereotype, in regards to Women Matters. So you don't adjust your Facebook feed here, because I know I'm not Joan, but Joan is actually live on site at the National Women's Hall of Fame. She is one of the keynotes that's really part of the Women Trailblazers, who's really talking about these important topics of today's workforce. Yeah. Some of the questions that they're highlighting there, and we're going to have real live people asking us questions during this Facebook Live. So we're live here, they're live there, but we all come together, which is awesome.
Great. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. So kind of to start the conversations, some of the questions that they're going to be talking about is, what does it take to be a strong female leader today in today's business society? And then they're also talking about how can you help drive the greatest change for women.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's an extremely important topic. I mean, just within the last few weeks alone, you got the Fearless Girl on Wall Street. You have so many of these relevant topics right now that regard women, minorities in a lot of these professional scapes, that I think it's a great topic to talk about. And what's great is the number of conferences that have been held now to really try to just empower women and really make this 2017 all about you. What can we do to push back maybe our barriers, push back some of these obstacles, and change ourselves from this fixed mindset to more of a growth mindset.
Absolutely. We solve problems every day with our clients. And I know we have some really great followers who are HR leaders, they're operation leaders, they're CEO of companies, and they're hiring authorities, and they're really looking at best practices to help lead individuals that may have these thought processes, and it really matters how they need to change their mindset in order to forge to a growth mindset.
Right.
So what could we share with our audience today, and what are the fundamental things that they should start doing to start the drive towards a growth mindset to help them lead individuals who may have different feelings and thoughts about what women are today and or the workforce? Right.
I think the one thing is really incorporating in a lot of the neuroscience that we know. So our brain is designed for patterns. It likes things familiar. And whatever it can do to pick up on some of that familiarity, it's going to now create some type of track. So we follow those patterns and those behaviors over and over again. And so one of the things I think that would be very helpful is challenging yourself to go outside of your normal routine. Try something different. Think of something different than you're used to, because the brain, and looking at the neural pathways that you find, it is going to then reaffirm those pathways if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. However, there's evidence that shows that if you try something new, try a new approach, a new technique, a new way of thinking, you'll actually see some of these different pathways emerge. And your brain itself is able to adapt to those changes. But if you get complacent, if you think you already know everything, if you already think that there's not really any need for me to change, then you're not going to see it. But this is such a great opportunity to, what's the harm? What do you have to lose? And so think of something new. Think of it in a fresh perspective. Take some of the work that we do or ideas that we have and see how you can incorporate it into your daily life.
So it goes to the first question that was given to me before the session start, was like, if they do that, but why do people feel like, why is change so scary? So we want our brain to have a set pattern, and we resist that change.
Right.
But to the average person, like my daughter who's in 4th grade, she's taking a state test right now.
Yeah.
You know, there's good and bad against that state test, but at the end of the day, I'm encouraging her to do it because you know what? She's carving out new brand pathways of a challenge that she has to overcome because you know what? She hates writing, and it's hard for her to do that, but I'm encouraging her to do that.
Yeah.
So why even at 4 it's scary, and at 52 it's scary?
Right. I mean, one thing that is important recognizing the way that we think. We're, as much as we would love to think that we're robots, computers, and we analyze everything in such a information-based way. We don't do that. We use a lot of these what we call heuristics. And one of the big ones is that we are very aversive to loss. We hate losing. And so you find that we will put much more emphasis on any potential loss than we do even an equal amount of that gain. You see it a lot of times with the stock market. So this last August, as stock prices started to plummet, you see a lot of people start backing out and start selling at that point. And one of the arguments here is that people are afraid to lose. I don't want to lose anymore, or I don't want to miss out.
So our brain tends to go to fear.
Goes
to negative.
Right.
So as human beings, we naturally go to negativity.
Yeah. Or, you know, there's at least a very high propensity for us to be aware when there is challenge, when there is threat. And it puts us in that fight or flight response, and it gets us into using those stereotypes even further. And that's something that hopefully we get a chance to talk about today, about that parallel between stress, when we feel uneasy, and for everyone, our go-to then is to rely on some of those stereotypes. And if the stereotype is going to limit your potential, that can have a huge impact on what you're going to do.
Well, it sounds like first you have to be aware that it's natural to be fearful. It's natural to accept that it's going to be scary.
Right.
But let's segue into that, the stereotypes that you just alluded to and you want to cover. Kind of go right into that path.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've always been fascinated in is looking at the number of women and men that are in some of these STEM-related positions, the sciences, technology, engineering, etc. And for me, it's always interesting to see that there's such disparity between the number of men and women that occupy that space. Yet, we live in a time when there's roughly an equal number of men and women that are working. So why the disparity then? And some of the researchers, and this is where some of the feedback that I had received, we want to actually get some of these articles. This is one from Beasley and Fisher, came out in 2012. And it looked at the number of men and women of different ethnic groups and how many of them were interested in the STEM-related fields, but then how many of them actually stuck with it. And what was interesting is that there was a pretty high percentage of both men, women, and minority groups that were interested in pursuing the STEM-related fields. However, what the results showed is that if you were one of these minority groups, Black, Hispanic, Latino, or woman, they found that you were much more likely to drop out of that program, to quit, to not continue with it, than if you were Asian or white male. And I look at that and I'm like, but why? And what was really fascinating is that that effect became even more compounded when an individual was stressed, whether that was stressed academically, whether that was stressed socially, emphasizing the cultural expectations. You found that when the body was stressed, it resorted to the stereotypes. And could that stereotype be that this is not meant for you?
And we talk about that going into your fixed mindset of what you know, because then you go to what you know and then you're stressed, so then you go back to your old thought process before you can think that you can accomplish that. It makes perfect sense to me.
You got it. You are your own worst enemy in that situation.
So if we learn how to regulate our stress and work through what is stressing us, maybe we can then achieve and push those other individuals towards it. Right? Kate, you got a question?
Somebody asked us this morning from the Women's Hall of Fame event, and it's kind of relevant right now. Fanny wanted to know, how do we better get the message out to young girls starting at 4 and 5 about girl power in STEM or other fields to family, schools, and communities?
Yeah, I mean, so that was really interesting. That was something else that I wanted to talk about here today. So this is actually the work from Muzzati and Agnoli in 2007 that actually showed that, and these are articles that if you want more information on, certainly just put it on the Facebook feed. I'll be more than happy to share the articles with you. I love, obviously, the research.
Oh, absolutely. And ask questions if this is getting a little bit too neurological for the average Joe, so feel free to ask questions because we're all average people here.
Right, and I just want there to be support that backs up, what it is that I'm saying, and I want to share it with you, and I think that's really being an ambassador of what research is out there. What was really interesting is actually those ages really fit nicely into what the research is showing. So between the ages of 6 and 11, what these researchers showed is that this is now when those cultural stereotypes really start to embed themselves into the minds of these women and these girls and boys that are growing up. And it really becomes now a situation that they look at the world around them, the situation that they're in, the demographics of the different people that are occupying the physics space, the leadership space, the business space. And if we continue down that trend that there's a disparity between the C-suites and these white affluent men are the positions of power, then what is that being communicated to in terms of the stereotype? And then what's the long-lasting impact that can have on that child? And it really is incredible to see this self-perpetuating cycle. And I would hate, and I would be remiss to say that it's as simple as that. There are so many factors that go into play with stereotype threat. You have socioeconomic status, opportunities, housing opportunities, income level, that it's impossible to be able to cure that here. But that first step is, let's communicate about it. Let's be aware of it. And what can we do to change it?
And a lot of that change, if it can start in the home. I know at the school that my daughter goes to, we have a STREAM program because I go to a private school and the R is for religion, but they're actively involved. And what I love to see at a young age, or instead of calling home ec, they call it kitchen chemistry now. So they're already, to me, embedding, instead of home ec and cooking, like what we used to call when we were growing up, and only girls did that, or if you did want to do that as a boy, you know, that could have been another type of bias that was happening. But now they call it kitchen chemistry, and I just think from a young age to answer Fanny's question, and thank you very much, Fanny, for asking that question, is really kind of starting from the home if it's possible, looking at community events that are happening. Google's your friend, right? So looking at what STEM organization groups that can provide that education at an early age for our young adults to say it's real, it's opportunity, you can break through those barriers.
Well, and even look at the Hall of Fame event, So this is an event that highlights the amount of success that women have had in this area, in Western New York, and really abroad. But what I think needs to happen then is, even like with the Fearless Girl on Wall Street, where's the long-lasting impact of this? And will it now start to change those stereotypes? Or is this going to be a fleeting fad? And that's where it really does have to get ingrained in order to become a stereotype. It has to be common, it has to be discussed. And one of the things that we mentioned at the last conference, the Women Up conference, is trying to talk about some things that can help to reduce that stereotype threat. And really making it now known publicly about the number of women who are having success out there. And really trying to reaffirm the skills and what the skills are that are necessary to be able to do these jobs. Not the way that you look, not the way that you present yourself.
Right, and having a forum and a platform that you can share your ideas, bring it to our attention, both the negative and the positive, and then have a forum to collaborate. And that's really what Women Up is all about, is bringing all women underneath one roof to be inclusive, to be able to help HR leaders, operation professional, hiring managers that are even listening to this feed right now, that there's a resource for you out there in this level of awareness, and then the expertise on top of that will allow people to plow through it and come up with solutions for their individual organization.
Exactly. I mean, the impact you can have within the organization, within the company, it would be incredible. To be able to come in and really just talk about the evidence. I mean, I swear I never want to ever make anything up, but at least to show the amount of evidence that's out there about this, and that really you have such a remarkable ability to lead to this effective change. And it's a great opportunity to come in and talk with people about what are some of these different techniques out there about how to try to overcome stereotype that. What are some different things that can influence it? Right.
Like we can complain all we want on how right now women don't feel equal to men, but then I think it empowers the women to work through these and make it happen for yourself. You talk about and find solutions, right? Eventually, if we put the stereotypes out there and we bring this conversation to life like we're doing on Facebook Live, then I feel like we have no choice to tip the coin, or at least make it equal, based on all parties.
Because, I mean, certainly stereotypes have a wide range of effects, but they can't be the absolute truth, because otherwise you wouldn't have these Hall of Fame events. You wouldn't have all these women that are successful. You wouldn't have all these different minority groups that are really leading pathways out there. But until we start hearing about them, until you start promoting them and making them the face and really highlighting the competencies that those individuals have that got them there, why would the trend ever change? It's almost that now the stereotype is that fixed mindset. And until you get out of that comfort zone, things are going to continue the way they are.
Move towards that growth mindset, absolutely. So there was another question that I think it's important for us to highlight today from the National Women's Hall of Fame, where Joan Gracie is today, and that's why you're seeing Jean Filipiak partnering with Eric. And if anyone when you're listening, we do #mindset to get the message out, as well as at the Women's Hall of Fame, it's hashtag, sorry everybody, be bold for change. So you can use those interchangeably. But the one question was, do women of color face more obstacles as it relates to unconscious bias factors?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and the simple, honest truth is it's not as simple as that. That study that I was talking about before, the one from Beasley and Fisher, they were even asking that question of, is being a part of a minority race combined with being a woman an additive effect, meaning that if you now are both a minority and a woman, does that lead to even further complications in being successful in STEM? And there still is conflicting results with it, and so I can't really stand up here and say that it's a combination of both or that you're going to see that. However, it does seem to be that if you fall into any one of those categories, either a minority group or being a woman, in some of these positions where that is not the stereotypical norm, there do seem to be a lot of barriers for success.
Yeah, and I just feel like in a society that's supposed to be innovative, where I feel like we're going backwards when people in higher authorities don't have a filter anymore. You know what I mean? And like it's supposed to be unconscious and kept in your thought process, but now it's being in the forefront. So now it's becoming conscious.
Well, and I think it really speaks to, we all have largely the same brain and nervous system. I mean, certainly there's individual differences, but that's not going to change. And while we are seeing advancements with technology in the world around us, in our environment, healthcare, et cetera, what we got to keep in the back of our head is that literally our brain and the way that it works will be fundamentally the same. And we're always going to use stereotypes. To say that we wouldn't is erroneous, and we need them. There's so many things that we do every day that if we didn't have stereotypes, we wouldn't be able to use the day-to-day things that we do. You know, we wouldn't be able to drive, wouldn't be able to get to.
So it brings a structure in our life.
Exactly. It gives us, so it frees up so many other resources that we can do all the other complicated things that we do. The detriment to that, though, then, is if those stereotypes are a barrier, an obstacle, then we can be our own worst enemy and prevent us from being able to break through those.
Yeah, and I think we see it in everyday life as well as in the workforce for sure. Kaylin, do we have any other things coming across the radar that we're aware of?
No, not right now.
Okay. So the only thing that I see that did come through was earlier, which helps us kind of move forward with Facebook Live, is there research on why gender bias begins at a young age? I know you mentioned a lot of it right now, but why is it, when we read that article most recently, that a 6-year-old is already thinking that they're not as smart, a female 6-year-old is already thinking at a young age that they're not as smart as a boy?
Right. And it's really interesting that it seems to affect women more, or girls more than boys, especially in regards to math. There's some other research on that too. It is something that fundamentally, though, in terms of cognitive development, that's a really important stage of our development, where a lot of these what we call schemas or stereotypes is really starting to form. Kids are now starting to understand better, more maturely, what it is of the different things around us, what these things are, what a desk is, what a pen is, what a pencil is, and start thinking about some of these ideas a little bit more sophisticated. Not perfectly by any means, but it's the same thing then with the world around us. What is mommy? What is daddy? What do they do? And if you now start to see these trends or these different behaviors that are associated with certain genders, then that's going to get instilled upon those kids as well. And it's a really important time where they're soaking up a lot of what they see in the world around them, and that if they see around them that the professional athletes look this way or act this way, or business owners look this way and act this way, then that's really kind of reaffirming for them what it means to be one of those particular groups.
It is very interesting. So you could be a human resource professional or a manager coaching a team, and how they could be stopped and having obstacles and not even realizing it because of these thought processes that happen early on in their life.
Right.
So how does a human resource manager or CEO uncover that, knowing that that could be a potential barrier to their growth, that these stereotypes are affecting in work life? It's
so challenging, but that's one of those situations that if it wasn't true, so let's do the opposite here. if these stereotypes didn't impact our behavior, if they didn't have any influence whatsoever, then when we look at the workplace, we should see equal numbers then between men and women and these different minority groups. So the fact that evidence-wise you don't see that, there must be something at play.
Okay.
And I think sometimes where then using that objective information can kind of be the kick in the face and say, maybe there is something that's actually influencing my behavior and something that's stopping me from being successful.
And you can uncover a lot of that information through self-awareness assessments, right?
Yep.
And then taking what we utilize in our work environment as a brain-based coaching methodology, right? So, as a certified behavioral analyst, we found, and why we went on this journey, and we partnered with you, Eric, is because we were finding that we were being held back by individuals who we could not change. Right? So they had a certain behavioral style, and we couldn't penetrate it, so what is the missing link? And it wasn't until that we got involved in brain-based recruiting and brain-based coaching that really has been a game changer on how we're able to get our companies to that next level. Because you have to look at it from that perspective, because no two brains are alike.
Exactly.
And mindset does matter.
And what's really challenging is that success can sometimes be a barrier, because I could easily see then how a person took a company, started it up, and now has seen success, and then say, well, who are you to tell me that I need to change the way that I think, or that I need to change something, because I've done so well and I've seen such success.
Right, because their measurement of success is their bottom line, and so far it's pretty healthy. Right,
exactly. But the follow-up to that would be, what more could you have gotten, and how much better could you do? And again, what's the harm? What's the harm, to just think about something in a new way, or try to take some of that self-awareness and say, what is it that my customer wants? What is it that my employees want? Because as much as you might think what you believe is important, you're not the one who's buying that stuff. You're not the one who's working there day to day. You're not the one who's on the floor. And I think that's something that's typically missed too, is that we have our fixed perspective and egocentric kind of way of thinking, but that's not the one that matters. It's the other people around us and what is their view that we really need to try to hone in on.
Can you give me the definition of what a growth mindset is?
Yeah, so in terms of growth mindset, it's really now looking at, there really is no barrier that I can't overcome, or what I believe can happen can lead to some effective change. In essence, if I think change can happen, it will happen.
Then change will happen.
You got it.
And then believing that if through training, through certifications, through ongoing learning, if you apply that stuff, then you'll be able to make the change happen, right? When I first was getting schooled in the behavioral analysis, God, this is 6-7 years ago, they pretty much said your behaviors are who you are. It's based on nature and nurture. But then that is also not true.
It's so antiquated.
Because if you change the way you think, then you have the opportunity to change your behaviors to accomplish certain goals that you want to do. Of course, you want to live in your natural state, right? Or be true to who you are as a person. But if I want to run a marathon, or if I want to accomplish and be a business owner or a company, there are some things that I have to do to stretch different muscles of my brain to be able to accomplish those goals, and it can be done.
Well, I always say, it's not like you were born being able to ride a bike. You weren't born being able to know how to ice skate. But with practice, you are now able to see effective changes in your behavior. So why would it be any different academically? Why would it be any different interpersonally? Why would it be any different with your business? And that all of these things you can really think of as a muscle, and that's really the growth mindset, is that if I practice at it, and I think of it as something that can be improved with practice, you're going to see it.
You can do it.
And you can do it. There's really nothing that says that you can't, because if you couldn't, then none of us should be able to ride a bike. It's not natural to do that.
And just even saying that, like Anna was saying, because it's a big state test week, and she was like, I can't do it, Mom. And all she kept saying all morning was, I can't do it. And I said, Anna, just say it once. I can do it. And I got to tell you, I saw her disposition change. As soon as she just said it, I saw her brainwaves really moving in a different direction and trying to do the best that she can to accomplish that goal.
And taking that feedback. I mean, feedback is great. We're so aversive sometimes to hearing that we may not be perfect, but it's through that feedback that we can get better. And it's through that critique that someone gives us that is going to push us then over the edge to reach that next level that you otherwise wouldn't have. And you shouldn't be able to do that on your own. This is where someone else has to come in and have that collaboration with you and say, well, here's another idea, and how do you think that can help to improve your business?
Yep, absolutely. So, as you are a father now, but you were here today, thank you very much, you made it.
Yes.
That's awesome. is there anything else that you wanted to share for Mindset Matters today before I segue into closing it up with Women Up Conference and the next event that's coming up?
Yeah, I think it really speaks to what we said here. Go out and try it. Try something new. Think of something in a different way, because what's the harm that can come from it? Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see that by pushing yourself out of that comfort zone.
It's so important. I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone right now by sitting in this chair.
Right.
Those are the small little things that you have to force yourself to do, because when I told Caitlin, I'm like, Caitlin, I so don't want to do this.
And I said, you can do this.
I get it, because it's live and it's all that,
yeah.
but it's that one little change that you do that I would never have done before.
Right.
Joan being away at the Women's Hall of Fame gives me an opportunity to stretch a muscle.
Right. But it's not easy. And you shouldn't have to do it alone.
Right.
I think
and it can be scary, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's perfectly fine, and it's seek someone, that you feel comfortable with,
yeah.
and can try it together.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Facebook Mindset Matter fans, the next Woman Up conference that we're going to be having is so exciting. It's May 2nd. But I'm going to actually let you listen to Caitlin's voice, because she has all the information on Women in Law, Women Up, right? Women Up, Women in Law.
Women in the Law. We're co-presenting it with the Women's Bar Association of Western New York. It's going to be at the Birchfield Penny Arts Center, starting at 4 o'clock. We'll be watching a documentary. Of course, I don't have the name of it offhand because I have no idea.
It's on the Women Up Conference website, so it's womenupconferences.com.
Yes. But it's going to be a great event for people who are already in the legal field, as well as any students who are thinking about getting into the legal field. We're going to be talking to different law schools, trying to get students to come, that kind of thing. Should be a really great event.
And it really is open to non-legal professionals,
absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be such insight being shared back and forth through the panel,
mm-hmm.
and then through the movie. How cool that we're able to see an actual movie being portrayed. So we're excited. We're actually giving away a ticket. So any of our individuals, just go ahead and streamline it. The person who has more of the like signs through the ending of this presentation, we will give away a ticket. So actually, you know what? Probably better yet. Why don't we just say put your name in the feed?
Yeah.
Or email Caitlin at apasolutions.com. Whatever responses we get, we'll put it in a hat and we'll do a drawing. As simple as that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Free ticket to Women in Law, Women Up, Women in Law, May 2nd.
Yes.
That's
right?
You got it.
And if it's anything like the previous one, I know we just got the results back blowout. Everyone had a great time. Everyone got so much out of it, and I would expect to be the same thing for me.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, the survey results from the first one were fantastic.
Yeah, and there was a lot of call out for an evening event.
Right.
So I think that's why it really makes sense that we move in this direction on the 2nd. Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Mindset Matters.